Morning, folks! Welcome back. It's John Pettipas. I didn't eat breakfast yet. It's very rare for me to do a video about me breakfast. I'm going to be very direct and blunt. It's 5 minutes before 5 minutes before 7 o'clock, 5 minutes before 7 a.m. on Wednesday morning, which is the 8th day of September. We are now 12 days away from the federal election. I'm going to be perfectly blunt. I'm getting all these brochures. I've had a guy come in. He's a prominent Tory, decent guy. I like him. And he brings me a Fiona MacLeod. You know, she's all smiles and she's going to do this, going to do this. I hear her ads, and she's been up in Ottawa, and she worked for the PC Party Canada and the Conservative Party, and she was in this department and so on. She's been there for 32 years. Well, I can't be more blunt. This is the riding I'm in, is Cape Breton Canso, which is presently held by an incumbent who is Mike Callaway. Yes, he's a Liberal, and I despise his leader. Justin Trudeau ought to be sent over in a plane to the Taliban and let them do their stuff with him. Okay? People in Ontario, I think, are going around with a noose for him. I think they might take care of him too. Anyway, they take and not advocate you do violence, but I'm just saying I've no use for Justin Trudeau. That said, Fiona MacLeod, well, did this and that, and she came from Scotland, and she's now, last night in the news, she's been going around in a motorhome. And I'm going to point out, the title of this video is, the job of your member of parliament, the job of any member of parliament across Canada, and there's 338 members of parliament now. It should not be a retirement job for somebody who decides to come home from Ottawa after 32 years. And yes, it's aimed right at Fiona MacLeod. Even though she's there, she's running for the Conservative Party, she takes the job of your member of parliament should not be a retirement job for somebody who wants to represent you and decides to run around in an expensive motorhome and drop in. I'm at the campground, but well, look at that, the locals. Hello, local. You got a problem? Well, in between me and my husband's barbecue, and we're due to go over to the village today, and we have friends down at the cottage, a private little Tory ta-ta-da. You know, we'll look after you, my dear royal subjects. Now get out of our way. We're going in a big motorhome. Get out of your way. You're just on the way to work. I got a big pension already. I can't be more adamant. This is not a partisan video. It's just a fact. The job of your member of parliament, anybody's member of parliament, from Tofino on Vancouver Island to Cape Spear, Cape Race, and Avalon Peninsula in Newfoundland, fine province of Newfoundland, should not be a retirement project for somebody who decides to come home from Ottawa to Cape Breton in eastern Nova Scotia and decide to offer for member of parliament. Now, I happen to know Mike Callaway, and very decent guy, extremely hardworking, and more importantly, even in Mike Callaway, I know several of the people work in his office, and most people don't have a friggin' clue. I spoke to somebody who works in the office, and it's a private conversation. I'm going to repeat it. I will not name the individual's name. During this biological germ warfare from communist China, I said, what's the most calls you've ever taken? I asked the individual. And he responded, 67. I said, what? 67 calls. He said, I stayed till midnight working and organizing stuff so they could put it in a form to start to work on the people's concerns and requests. That office is going to be, should Mike be defeated, that office is going to be extremely difficult to replicate. You have people in there. I remember speaking to somebody who used to be in an office, and Alan Jay's birthday was coming up. It was the year before he died and went to heaven. He was 95, and I wanted to send him a card in order of citation. I phoned up somebody. I knew it was late July, and somebody at 5:30 or 5:45 on her personal cell phone phoned me up at supper hour. She was on her way home from work, and she looked up the date and got back to me. She promised to get back to me and said, that is the kind of dedicated, that was under Roger Cousin. This lady has since retired, but there's there's just a wonderful crew, and they're extremely hardworking people. It's I don't think anybody realizes, if you're an MLA or of any party, any political stripe, or member of parliament, the amount of requests and calls coming out, unless you have a system in place, man, oh man, you're going to be buried like, I don't know, somebody in the bottom of a grain elevator as the silage or the grain goes in. There's a good system in place. Can they solve all the problems? No. And I'm going to go back in Alan J. This guy keeps bringing up the sign. Okay. This is a sign that was given me last Thursday, and it's Fiona McLeod's sign. Okay, now somebody said looks like a sign for a real estate company. And she may well get elected. The trend is very much against the government, and Justin Trudeau deserves to be kicked the hell out. That said, I can, from a personal, practical aspect, having Mike Callaway and his office staff, the people that work their ass off in that office, those women and men, they take, having that system in place is much more valuable than having Fiona McLeod that's come home after 32 years, and this is a retirement job. Now remember, the job of your MP, of anybody, I repeat, from Tofino on Vancouver Island, far west coast of Canada, to Cape Race, Cape Spear, Newfoundland, should not be a retirement job for somebody. Now, I mentioned Alan J. And the guy said to me the other day, well, Alan J. never got elected by a lot. No, Alan J. never got elected by a lot. Bill Gillis got elected by as little as 200-some votes. It was his most proudest win in 1984. The Tories had swept in Imperial Rooney on September 4th, 1984. And John Buchanan, that guy that put every decision that every premier of any political stripe makes in Nova Scotia is hobbled by the debt that's put on by John Buchanan between September 78 and we fucked off to Ottawa by Mulroney appointed him in, 1990 to shove the hate, that was then called a GST down our throat. Okay, and of course he died. He had Alzheimer's and he didn't know where the hell he was at, but he still drew a handsome pension. Imagine Mavis still gets some of the pension. Okay, he decided to call a provincial election on November 4th of 1984, and Bill Gillis had to turn 1,800 votes around to win the seat. And he did. It was his proudest win. So Bill Gillis never won by a lot. Lloyd won by, Honourable Lloyd P. Hines in October of 2013, won by 500 and some votes. He got in by about 86 votes, I think it was, in the spring of 2017, and he lost this election. Okay, but you get, people often do not, in their naivety, do not realize what's involved in being an MLA or a member of Parliament. And I can tell you the reason why Justin Trudeau had this, and I'll repeat this, I said it before, and people like it or not, tough. The reason Justin, now this is a prominent Tory, he tells me, Alan J. never won by a lot. And it's true, I've often pointed out, good men and women, for some reason, never win by a lot. Margaret Thatcher had to run not once, not twice, but 3 times before she first got elected. Former Premier Steve McNeil, Bill Gillis, Richie Mann, Honourable Lloyd, they lost their first time they offered for MLA. They lost, but then people that lose their first election tend to be very diligent and go on to very successful careers. Okay, it's a fact. Bill Gillis used to tell me, John, I don't know if I told you this before, but I attribute the fact I lost my political longevity, attributed the fact I lost my first election. Alfie McLeod was elected twice, lost his middle election, and then third election and won 2 more terms after that. Alan J. won his first election, lost his second election, and was back, and I think he got elected 5 times after that. So yes, Alan J., when Frank tells me that Alan J. never won about that, it's just true. He never won. I think the biggest he had was a sweep of 74. He won by about 4,000 votes. Usually he'd win by 1,000, 1,500, 2,000, 2,500 was a big win for him. 23, 2,500. The Tories elected Justin Trudeau in a mass sweep. Roger Cuzner won by something like 16,000 votes in Cape Breton, Canso. Mark Eichen won by 16,500, almost 17,000 votes in Sydney, Victoria. And lots of seats that had been previously won by a little bit were won by never seen. You see that in Tory rural Alberta under the PCs and our Conservatives. Very unusual. The sweep was on, and the sweep was on because the Tories wanted Justin Trudeau's policy of smoking dope. And I'm in Trackety, and I can tell you that an awful lot of the Tories are big dope smokers. Big guts now. Sit by the campfire, drink their liquor, eat raw oysters, and they smoke dope. And get in a school bus next morning and drive kids to school. Yes, I'll repeat that. Big gut in them, big gut. Eat their oysters, raw oysters, smoke dope and drink liquor around the campfire, then next morning get in a school bus and drive the kids to school. Think about it. Now, the Tories voted for en masse. If every Liberal from Anne Gazelle to Edna Budrow got up from their graves and went out and vote, they could not put, it was unprecedented. And the Tories voted Liberal so they could smoke dope. And nobody will ever tell me that. I'm going to repeat it for a third time. The Tories in masses, the biggest families, I don't care if they're Connors or Boyles or Boys or Matties or whatever the name was, Delory, they voted Liberal in mass so they could smoke dope. And as a fact, just look at the numbers. Roger Cuzner won by 16,000 votes. In party to Alan Jay. Alan Jay was only Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of External Affairs, the kingpin in a positive sense, the Lord of the Lake, the very powerful representative in the federal government for the people not only of Cape Breton Islands Council but in Atlantic Canada, and he could never win by more than 25. Frank tells me he never won by much, and it's true. You can't tell me little punk like Justin Trudeau was winning because Justin Trudeau was so good. It was because they wanted to smoke dope. And I find my area here, the Tories are big dope smokers. And so anyway, back to Fiona MacLeod. The job of your member of parliament should not be a retirement job for somebody who decides to come on home and walk among the people and be, and just, even though this guy will no doubt go in opposition, surely to God, the people aren't going to have a Liberal government nationally. If you look at what they do, are we going to get a military base? Okay, like Comox or Trenton, Ontario, or whatever, Halifax? No. Are we going to get, speaking of Halifax, are we going to get, we don't have any shipyards big enough to handle building multi-billion-dollar Arctic patrol vessels. And so if you look at what a member of parliament does to get back to people on any number of issues, Mike Callaway has an exceptionally good crew in place. And Fiona MacLeod, or the NDP candidate here, Jana Reddick, and there's some other ones, there's a People's Party out there, PPC, People's Party candidates, I think there's 4 in this riding. Okay, did one video the other day on Sean Fraser, Pictou, Central Nova. There's 8 running up there. I believe there's 4. I might be wrong, but there is Mike Callaway, the incumbent. There's Fiona MacLeod, the challenger. There's Jana Reddick, the NDP. You know how I feel about the NDP. And there's the People's Party Canada. So I repeat, the job of your member of parliament anywhere in Canada should not be a retirement job for somebody who decides to come home and tour around in a fancy motorhome. And that is a fact, and I will leave it at that. It's now 10 minutes. I went on longer than expected. It's 10 minutes past 7 o'clock in the morning, on the morning now of Wednesday, the 8th day of December. And get out and vote. I can express my opinions. You get out and vote. This is your guide to federal election. Those of you that don't vote have no right to sending an election. With that, I got to go. All the best. God bless. Get a good breakfast yourself, as I'm damn well going to do here momentarily as this video goes upload. Thank you very much. All the best. God bless. Thank you.